just to kind of kick things off, these webinars are really meant to give you actionable insights that you can take into your practice immediately and start implementing. We love, love, love doing these monthly webinars because we get to have a special guest every month. And today we get to hear from Dr. Thanh Mai. So, Dr. Thanh Mai is really passionate about tackling the growing epidemic of myopia in children. He's working tirelessly to prevent its progression and improve their vision. He's equally dedicated to combating the challenges posed by corneal diseases, using his expertise to help patients overcome these serious conditions and restore their sight. At Insight Vision Center, they're all about connecting with Orange County residents and businesses, which we love and support here at Weave. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll get to them as best we can. I will go ahead and turn the time over to Dr. Mai.
Great. Hey, thank you, Carly, for that great introduction. I love working with Weave, and of course, I love talking about anything that can help other doctors, any staff members, any team members working in the healthcare space. This lecture is talking about artificial intelligence. I wanted to make sure it was very practical, and I'm not going to have us vibe coding and creating our own software programs, but at the same time, I don't want to just make it really basic. So I kind of try to thread the needle in the middle. And so I'm hoping that this is going to be a great presentation for people across the spectrum, no matter who you are in terms of your journey with artificial intelligence. So with that said, a few things about me. For those who don't know, I am a practicing optometrist in Southern California. I have 5 locations now, though. There's 12 doctors in our network, in the businesses that I own. And I made a little note here. It's doctors plus AI is that every single doctor in my group, we are all using AI daily at this point. Like it is my home screen over Google. And it's something that I probably use a little bit too much at this point to do a little bit of everything, but it really saves me so much time and energy so I can help my patients and grow my practice. It's been actually a huge game changer, and it's helped me scale quickly to grow my offices. A few things that I like to throw out there. Again, I have no financial disclosures or anything I'm going to talk about today, but right now what we're using in practice, it doesn't matter what your EMR is I use something called getfreed.ai. So you go to getfreed.ai, and that's the scribing tool I use right now. So when I walk into the room, what I did was I set up mics in every room. So basically I've got a computer in every room, and I've got a mic attached to my computer. There are a lot of computers nowadays, especially the all-in-ones and laptops, they already have a mic built in. But if you don't have it built in, we just bought mics and put them on the desk for every room. And what we do is when we walk into the room, we turn on Get Freed. We just go onto the website. You can create an account in 2 minutes. And we just hit record, and it just starts scribing and turning the visit into a SOAP note. A SOAP note is subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. So it kind of makes it all flow like that in terms of the entire conversation. So at the end of the day, I just kind of copy and paste those notes into my chart, and it saves my charting tremendously. I deal with a lot of children pediatric exams. I deal with a lot of complex corneal cases, and having like the 15-minute spiel that sometimes the conversation I had with the patient, transcribe the entire thing and summarize it, has been a game changer. So I'm not charting through 2-3 hours a day anymore. I'm done within minutes every patient. So absolutely, I think an AI scribe should be one of the first things any doctor or staff person starts if they're in practice of any sort. A scribe is absolutely a game changer. The next thing I want to go over is just some basics into the ChatGPT basics, and also something I call chain of commands. And so I'll be talking about that in terms of you give it a prompt, but later on you give it a chain of commands and you continue the conversation. So what does that mean? So practically speaking, to put this at the very ground level, how you use ChatGPT is you go to chatgpt.com. Okay, and you get to a screen like this. Okay, so very simply on the bottom here, it says when you can ask it anything, that's where you put in what you call a prompt. That's where you tell the AI agent what to do. So again, you just go to www.chatgpt.com, you get here. Okay, so the question is, what do you prompt it? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I was helping another optometrist who owned a private practice do something. I would need to give it a certain prompt. So here's an example of what I do to get the best prompts. Because prompt engineering can be a little bit confusing. This is my daughter, Kinsey, by the way. She just turned 5. See, she gets really confused by anything besides just cutting paper up. So I want to make this very easy for anyone to do prompt engineering. So I'll give you an example of what I do. It's like this. I sometimes ask the AI what prompt to write. So it's like I'm asking, my prompt is sometimes asking them for the prompt. So it's kind of a little bit meta in that example. So I just say, hey, I give it a role. You are a prompt engineer expert. Write me an amazing prompt. That's what what I'm asking it to do, the task. So I've given a role. I've asked it to do a task, write an amazing prompt for, let's say, an optometrist for this private practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. I just Googled a practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you're on this call, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I just literally Googled a practice in North Carolina. And so basically what I'm trying to say is I want to write a prompt, help me write the prompt even. And so it writes a really good prompt. And so here's the prompt that it gives me. It says, you know how I mentioned a basic prompt is the role. This is prompt engineer expert. It's write an amazing prompt, which is a task. And I give some context, which is you're an optometrist for this private practice in North Carolina. That's a really, really good basic way to do a good prompt. But a really masterful prompt would be this one that they wrote below here. Look at their prompt. When I ask it to give me a prompt, it says, hey, for this practice, Innovative Eye Care Charlotte, you are a board certified optometrist and clinical educator with 15 years of experience practicing in North Carolina. You are specializing in these conditions. You understand real world workflow of a busy optometric practice. When answering, you should use clear, confident, evidence-based optometric reasoning. Balance clinical accuracy with patient-friendly language. Offer practical implemental recommendations. So I love the fact that their prompt is just so much longer than my prompt was just like, one sentence, really short. Their prompt is like long. And that's what a really good prompt looks like. It's very detailed. It gives roles. It gives good context. It's very clear exactly what you want the AI to answer with, right? So I said, okay, well, talking about chain of command, that was my first prompt. I said, hey, change it. I decide for this practice, I really want to develop a dry eye program. So I'm trying to develop the perfect IPL dry eye aesthetics marketing plan for this practice in North Carolina for these 3 doctors that I found on their website. So I basically am asking, so again, the meta example is, if I don't know what the prompt should be, I'm asking it what to prompt to give it to me, right? And so it says, okay, hey, cool. Here's a prompt for that. It's going to be now, you are a senior healthcare marketing strategist specializing in optometry, ophthalmology, medical aesthetics, blah, blah, blah. You have successfully built IPL and aesthetics programs in a competitive suburban urban markets. You understand the difference between medical dry eye versus aesthetic positioning, how to market cash pay, patient psychology, compliance, and scope, all that stuff without feeling salesy. So I love about their prompt is it keeps going. It also gives practice context. This is the name of the practice. This is the location. Here are the 3 doctors. Here's the technology I'm going to use. Here's our goal. And then their task is, instead of just, build me you could have just said, build me a marketing plan, right? But that'd be a really short, bad prompt, in my opinion. A better prompt would be theirs. Your task is to 1, core positioning and messaging. 2, ideal patient personas. 3, internal growth strategies for highest ROI. So I love that their prompt is like so much better than my prompt. My prompt might have been just give me a dry eye marketing plan, but their prompt is actually this. So basically, you're prompting for a prompt, which ends up being the best prompt for what you want to do. And then, to me, it's like this. It's like, let's say you've got a girlfriend. Let's say you're dating Taylor Swift, and you don't know what kind of purse she wants or what kind of gift you want. So you just ask her, hey, just tell me what kind of gift you want for Christmas, because, and that's what I'm doing with prompt engineering sometimes. I'm asking it, hey, just give me the prompt so I can feed it to you later. And so what I did was I took that prompt, this long one here, I copied and pasted this entire thing, the prompt there, all that stuff here and here. I took that, I copied that prompt. Now I went back to ChatGPT, started a new chat and said, okay, hey, I'm going to now give you that prompt, that really, really long one. Now there's a few different ways I want you to also ask the prompt. So when you use ChatGPT or Gemini, there's something called auto, which decides how long you want how long you want the AI to work. So in this case, it's ChatGPT. There's also instant, which gives you the answer right away. There's thinking, which is a little bit longer. And then there's pro, which is like research, PhD level insights. And so if I want something like PhD level insights, I will click on pro. If I'm just figuring out like the recipe for my Parmesan chicken recipe, then I'm just going to do, instant or auto. But the reason why I bring that up is based on how what you tell the model to do, it'll give you a different answer. So I'll give you an example with this one. When I give it instant versus pro, so instant, it just starts spitting out the answer right away. If you do pro, it takes like an additional, sometimes a few minutes, not just instantly. But what it'll do is on the right side, it will even tell you what it's thinking. So when I gave that prompt, which was everything I said before, which is this long prompt here, I pasted this one in and I did pro mode. Then on the right side, you see how it's starting to it's telling you how it's thinking. So the ChatGPT is telling you it's formulating its marketing plan according to Charlotte. It's providing compliance framework and MGD treatments. It's using some FDA stuff from Luminous. It's crafting comprehensive marketing plan to build out how to convert existing patients during pre-test and my biography. So like it's telling you actually how it thinks. And based on that, you're going to get two different answers. And so I gave it the exact same long prompt for the instant response. On the right side, I did the pro response. On the left, it's still pretty good. It gives you some core positioning. It tells you how to, what you're trying to objective is. It tells you what IPL is not, a beauty treatment, a spa add-on, a one-off fix. But on the right, the pro response to me is a little more built out. It's talking about the proof pillars. It's talking about your foundational messaging framework, which is MGD is a common driver of rapid of dry eye. We should talk about that way. We're treating the eyelid glands and inflammation, which contributes to symptoms. If drops in warm compress haven't fixed it, you may need an office procedure-based plan. It's even telling me what kind of language to use in terms of how I start doing my sales and marketing for this dry eye treatment program, right? So the pro response, again, gives research-grade stuff when you really need to dive deep. If I was going to go over like legal documents or write a PhD thesis, I would use the pro response, not just the instant response. Again, another example, the instant response says, hey, watch out for the routine eye exams, watch out for red lid margins, frequent blinking fluctuations. And you might say your vision fluctuates because the oral layer of your tears isn't stable. That's not bad, right? But the pro version talks about more of an internal growth strategy. Step one, identifying screening with online intake forms, maybe doing it on an iPad, contact lens follow-up paperwork to add it as a dry screener. It's giving me what questions to ask in that screener. Burning, gritty eyes, redness, fluctuating vision, symptom surveys. If it's greater than 2, it means this. So I like the fact that it's built out more when I use the pro version than the instant version. The next thing I want to talk about is using the next thing I want to talk about is how to use it in terms of working with Excel files. So we've all tried, well, a lot, it's me in particular, I've fed Excel files a lot into ChatGPT and Gemini, and it doesn't always end up looking very good. I'll give you an example. Like I said, hey, let's pretend I was copy and pasting a profit and loss into a practice that grew from $451,000 in year 1 to $1.3 million by year 2. And I'm going to attach the profit and loss statement. Okay. So I've given it 3 profit and loss statements for year 1, 2, and 3. And it's supposed to give, it's supposed to analyze that profit and loss statement, right? So I attached it to ChatGPT. And what I did was let's say I want to create a budget in 2026. So I said, hey, you're a financial planner with strong accounting background. Give me an overview of my last 3 years profit and loss as a business strategist and create a budget for 2026 based on this. So that was my prompt. Well, it gave me really bad stuff. It said, okay, well, based on what, it gave an overview of what I fed it. And it said that year 1, you did $773,000 a year. Year 2, you did 1.26. Year 3, that was 1.98. But that wasn't true. That was completely wrong. And it said that we grew 62% and 58% in these years. Like That's everything you see down there was completely wrong, even though I fed it, I attached the Excel sheet and everything that had all the profit and loss statement in there, right? So ChatGPT was completely wrong. So at the flip side, I put it into, and also I asked it to make a budget for 2026, year four, let's say, and it said, well, okay, well, your budget is actually 800,000. We expect total expenses to be 520,000, which is, 65% of your revenue. So it's projected that we're shrinking it a bunch. So basically what I'm trying to say is ChatGPT was completely wrong. On the flip side, when I input and attach those exact same Excel sheets into Perplexity.ai, it was completely accurate. On the right side, you'll see your revenue for this make-believe practice. I just made up all these numbers, by the way. Price I did 450 one year, 711 the next year, 1.3 million the next year in 2019. And then it gave me a cost of the goods breakdown. But basically, what I'm trying to point out was Perplexity was completely accurate in terms of understanding the profit and loss statement I applied to it, which was an Excel sheet. So, and it was really good about creating then the budgets and the proposals and the revenue projections for the next year. So if I was using it as a tool to make my projections and be my free CFO, Perplexity AI would be way better than ChatGPT and Gemini in this situation. But the take-home message is this. You're going to have different, in this case, Perplexity was better than ChatGPT for data analysis. That's what I found as well. When it comes to legal documents and financials, Perplexity is better than ChatGPT. When it comes to creating videos and pictures, Gemini is better than ChatGPT. When it comes to writing poetry, writing copy, writing messages, and responding to email, I love ChatGPT for that. So what I'm trying to say is there's different AIs for different purposes sometimes. One Uber tip, no matter which one you use, it doesn't matter if you're using ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity, it gets really confused by Excel files. It's really hard for it to read them. So what I recommend doing as well is take a screenshot of the Excel file. So what you do is you open the Excel file, literally take a screenshot of it with your computer with like the snipping tool. In Windows, it's a snip tool, which you can print screen and basically take sections of what you see on the screen and paste it. So I'll actually take screenshots of my Excel sheets and I'll actually copy and paste those pictures into AI as well. If the AI gets those pictures of the Excel file, it totally will read them better, not just attaching the Excel file and praying that it can read it properly and interpret it. So note there. One of the best things you can do with AI, in my experience, is making assistants or making basically little programs like GPTs and GEMs and things like that can be basically be your list of free personas. So let's say you wanted a business strategist, you wanted a CPA, you wanted a lawyer, you want a marketing specialist, you want the best dry eye expert in the world, you want the best myopia management expert or the best dentist. You can create that persona with AI, and that AI would then think and act just like that person would, who's an expert in that field. So that's something I love doing. I'll give you an example of one. Let's say I want to create one with ChatGPT. How you do that is this. You go to www or you go to chatgpt.com/GPTs, or you can just go to chatgpt.com. And on the left side, it says like explore GPTs. You click on explore GPTs, and the upper right, then you hit create GPT, right? So you're going to create your own assistant right now. So that's exactly how you start it. So that would lead you to this screen. You can either just, in this field, you can just hit where it says create versus configure. So on the left, it says create. If I click on the right, it says configure. If I just stay in create, I can just tell it what to do. I can say, hey, like I want you to create me an assistant that acts like, Steve Jobs or whoever, like, Elon Musk or, to basically come up with new technology and business strategy. That's what you can have a conversation to create the assistant. Or you can be a little more hands-on and you can click on the right side where it says configure. And so I'm going to do that in this case. I'm going to hit configure. So let's say I want to come up with like best pricing strategies for my contact lenses. And so I would have to give it some instructions in terms of how this assistant would act. Think of it like the master prompt. So let's say I want to ask for contact lens strategies every year or every quarter. Let's say I want to update my prices for how I sell contact lenses in my private practice optometry business. I could say every single time, you are a, pricing strategist. Here's the context. Here's the role. And I can do that, every single time. This saves me a step. I'm going to create the GPT where I've already given it all those instructions. And next time I have the same question, I just go back to the GPT without having to reprompt who it is again, right? And so what I done in this situation was I'm going to write the instructions, which is you are pricing and strategy consultant specializing in optometric practices. Who I am. I'm an optometrist price owner, and I want to optimize my contact lens pricing. I've attached to it my pricing in terms of I've uploaded my own prices that I do in my prior practice. I've also uploaded the wholesale price that I get from my distributor. My distributor is called ABB. So basically, I'll give an example. Let's say, my contact lens I sell for $100, but my cost of goods is $50, right? So my margin is 50%. So I basically gave it my price and also my wholesale cost. And so I upload that into the GPT. Again, what I did was I made the instructions really, this is the instructions I gave it. You're a pricing and strategy consultant. I want you to look at margin optimization, give me SKU level recommendations for dailies versus monthlies, branded versus private label, make sure I want to make sure that we price it well, but we have to be competitive with what people are buying online, so that we're just right in the same vein without people walking away. And so I gave this long prompt. By the way, how did I get this long prompt and a list of instructions? Again, I did the same thing I did earlier. I said, hey, I'm trying to create a GPT for a pricing model to help me run my private practice. Write me a prompt, and it gave me this longer prompt, right? So again, prompting the prompt. It's asking your wife what she wants for her birthday and then getting it for her birthday. And so everyone's happy. You're happy because you got her what she wanted. She's happy because she got what she wanted. So I created this GPT, and now I have my own assistant, just like I could if I wanted a CPA or a marketing strategist or someone to help me cook 3-star Michelin meals. I would basically create a prompt to create that persona. And now I can go back and just talk to that persona. This person is this GPT is called contact lens strategist. So in this case, my question might be like, how much should I price this new contact lens product at? So I'll give you an example. I asked it to look at all my prices, and I said, hey, like, which prices should I change? Which one should go up? Which one should go down? And so it looked at all my prices and said, hey, like, for these ones, looking at your gross margins are pretty low here. And by the way, I just made this GPT earlier this week. I had no idea what it would tell me, and apparently my margins are really low here. Like these products that I'm selling today, they're saying that your margins are terrible. You're basically cheaper than people can even find online. You should probably increase your prices. That happens all the time, by the way, in prior practices. A lot of times we end up like keeping our prices the same for like 3, 4, 5 years, even though inflation's happening. And then you're like 20% cheaper than you should be, even compared to other people in the market. So this is a good reminder, So it said, hey, for all these products, I should probably increase it for Alcon and Cooper Vision stuff. For these products, without me prompting at all, for these Acuvue products, it says my price is probably too high. It analyzed stuff that you can get at Costco, and it said like, if you want to be competitive, you should lower your prices for those things. So it's pretty interesting. I didn't tell it to be brand specific, but it was definitely brand specific. It basically said for these brands with Alcon and Cooper Vision, you need to raise your prices. For this stuff with Johnson & Johnson, you need to lower your prices based on its analysis. So I love it. I love it as a thought partner that I can use to kind of restructure even my pricing models. I want to talk about standalone versus integrated AI. So everything that I was doing so far was with ChatGPT. ChatGPT would be considered a standalone one. So ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, they stand alone. You go to their website and you start using it. There's also integrated AIs. So I'll give you an example. These are things like Google Docs, Google Slides. They're built into the workflow already. So you don't have to go into or leave it and come back to it in order to use it. So the problem with doing standalone ones, let's say I want to write, I use Gmail to send my emails. What I do all the time is I would copy and paste emails from my Gmail into ChatGPT and say, hey, like clean this up, write it better, give me some ideas of, or even respond to this other doctor or patient, help me write a response to that person, right? So I was doing that before, but now things are better integrated. I'll give you an example. So right now, just practically speaking, if you use Gmail like I do, in Gmail right now, if you have a workspace account like I do, next to send, next to where it says AA, you see that little pencil, a little star there? That little pencil is where you can click it and it opens up a prompt where you can use Gemini to help answer things. So let's say I want to write an email within my email client without even leaving and coming back. I can just basically click on that and say, hey, like I'm trying to write an email to John or Adam, and I want to talk about how we need to do, more collaboration together with Weave and myself or whatever, let's say, and help me write that email. Instead of now leaving to ChatGPT, I can just do it right into Gmail right there. I can just prompt it right there. It'll create me a prompt or create the answer, and I can just insert it into my email in a second without switching back and forth. So it's kind of nice that things are integrated. Same thing with Gemini. I can say, hey Gemini, if you're logged in under Gemini, which is Google's, I can basically say, hey Gemini, like I want to. Can you add these things to my calendar for me? I've got dinner with my wife tomorrow at 6 p.m. Can you make a note that my airplane on next month on the February 16th is landing at 4 o'clock, and it'll actually it'll go into my calendar, Google Calendar, and add those events for me from Gemini as well. So I can just talk to it, and then it'll do it if it's synced with my calendar. So a lot of things are nice when they're integrated all together. I live on Google Calendar, I live on Gmail, I live on Google Docs. And so all this stuff is integrated and it can actually talk to each other. Same thing when I'm using Gemini, I can also say, hey, Gemini, can you crawl all my Gmail? And I can say at Gmail, look through my emails and find where I talked to Chris about blank, so and so. Find me those emails. Or I can say, hey, based on all my emails, can you write like me? And it actually will see and crawl through all my emails to know how it writes and acts like me, right? And so another thing I love is I use Google Meets for everything. Almost like we don't use a lot of Zoom anymore. We use Google Meets. And what I love about Google Meets is, first of all, it syncs with my Google Calendar. So the reason why I don't like Zoom is because before I'd have to like log into Zoom. I'd have to create an event, give it a title, get the invitation and copy paste it and email it to my friend or have Zoom invite them to a webinar. But that takes a lot of work. I'm already on Gmail and Google Calendar already all day long. Nowadays, I just create a calendar event next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and then just say it. Just I send it to Jim to invite him, and then it automatically creates a Google Meet. Right. One thing I love about Google Meet is I used to use a lot of note takers. I still do, like Otter and Fireflies. I still do sometimes. They kind of follow me around still when I forget to kick them out. But with Google, you can actually on the bottom right, you see where the 9 dots are in the square. There's 9 dots on the bottom right. If you click on that, you can click on Tools, and you can record the meeting. You can even transcribe the meeting, and that's using now Google's built-in AI tools. So it can transcribe, record things. You can get summaries of it later. And so that, again, it's an example of an integrated tool, not a standalone one. It's already built in. So nowadays, I use a lot of integrated tools because I already use Gmail for so much stuff. Same thing with even setting this presentation together. I could, I have slides on my left side, but on the right side with Google Slides, I can click on Gemini. And if I want to insert new slides or put in pictures or infographics, I can just type it in there, create pictures. Here I have a 3D. I said, make me a 3D render of a cubicle tomato. And it made it for me if I wanted to throw it into my slide without having to look around and copy paste Google images. I could do that now, all built into Google Slides. So I love integrated solutions like that. This lecture was supposed to be only half an hour. I already at the half-hour mark. So again, I was just trying to give really nice tools and things that are very practical for the audience. I hope this was very helpful. This picture is just me. I opened my first practice. I've got 5 locations. This is me we celebrate our 10-year anniversary at one of our locations, and we invited a bunch of our patients out, and we had an in and out truck. And so a lot of patients showed up and we had a good time. And so we're just happy to be in business 10 years later. I'm still in private practice. I still see patients, but I also love scaling and growing businesses and using AI tools. With that said, yeah, I want to open this up to any questions, or if Mike wants to start to talk about anything he wants to talk about, I'm happy to leave the floor.
I thought that I was like pretty sophisticated with AI, but I've learned a lot. There's a lot more that I can be doing. And I loved your distinction between kind of standalone AI and integrated AI. I think that's a really, really important point. We actually have integrated AI solutions within the Weave product that are really cool. And really at Weave, our goal is to help practices make their everyday easier. And a lot of our integrated AI pieces can help you do that. So if there aren't any questions, we will just turn the time over to Mike, and he's going to go over a little bit what we have to offer here at Weave.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if there are any questions, once again, please put them in the chat, whether they're for myself or for Dr. Mai. And as I do a brief demonstration here for you all, you can just put those in there and be happy to answer them. So I'm just going to share my screen here for just a second. You guys should be able to see that all right. Right here, if you guys are familiar with Weave, or if this is your first time seeing Weave, this right here is the Weave software. As Dr. Mai as well as Carly was saying, we have some awesome AI features here that I'll be sure to touch on. The great thing with the Weave software is it syncs up with the phones as well that we give you guys there in the practice. And so you're going to have the software as well as the phones speaking to each other, which offices love, because most offices are using a super generic phone system. I had one office that purchased today that they were using, the same phone system I have at my house. And so for practices where you guys are practicing medicine, especially for getting something where you're working with patients every day, you want to get something that is not just advanced, but personable. And so what I want to demonstrate for just 2 seconds here is, for example, when patients call into your guys' practice, right now what's occurring is you guys are having to answer the phone. Hey, what is your name? What is your date of birth? For me, my name is Mike White, and every time I call in, it's, which Mike is this? What is your date of birth? If I'm having cell phone issues, whatever, it takes a minute to look them up. With Weave, when they call in, your phone is going to ring just like normal, but on the computer, because it's synced up with your practice management system or your EMR, it's going to pull the patient's name up right there. Now, when you actually answer the phone, it's going to pull up that patient as well as all of their info right off the bat. So here you'll see Mike, you'll see his wife, Sarah, and their 2 kids, Charlotte and Tanner. But then what's great about this here too is it'll also pull up a set of tasks that are coming from within your guys' practice management system or EMR. And so, for example, here we can see, it looks like Charlotte hasn't been in for, it looks like over a year now. And so while you're on the phone with Mike, you can just get that overdue appointment scheduled. We can see that Mike has an appointment coming up on the 3rd. So you can confirm that with him here, which it'll then confirm it there in your practice management system or your electronic medical record. Okay. Now on the AI side of things, let me just kind of stretch this out here for just a second. Offices love the analytics that we can provide. Now, here within Weave, not just the analytics, but it's going to break everything down from, your basics like your incoming calls, how many calls you guys have missed, etc. But then we have this thing called call intelligence. And call intelligence is an AI system where if you can't listen to every phone call, which, let's be real, most of you don't have the time to do that, this is going to be able to break this up for you. So for example, let's say I want to look up all the calls this week. Okay. And here within the calls this week, we can see, okay, well, what is the sentiment? We see that, and you probably have more than 10 calls in a week. Okay. But in this case, and for easy math, we'll say there was just 10 calls in the week. Of those 10 calls, 6 of them were unhappy, 2 of them were happy, and 2 of them were neutral. Okay. Well, who was unhappy? Why? Let's click on that. And we can see why they were calling into the practice. We can see who in the practice they spoke with. And then right here, we have an entire transcript. Okay, so we can see they spoke with Michael Brown in the office. Here's the essence of the conversation. I have the entire call recording there. I had one office who they were just telling us just the other day that they've been using this system for a minute, and when they clicked on the unhappy calls, they found out that all the calls were with the same person in the office. And so it warranted a coaching conversation with that particular employee where they were able to help train up and either coach them up or coach them out if it was a good fit for them as far as in that. The other really nifty thing about this here too is in the call intelligence side, it'll also tell you how many of them are scheduling opportunities. So let's say you got 10, 10 calls that came in and all of them were scheduling opportunities or whatnot. It will tell you what percentage of those here you were able to schedule and which ones you weren't. And so right here, we have 8 calls that mention scheduling opportunities, and we can actually click into that and see who they spoke with in the practice once again, as far as the office user and maybe why they didn't schedule anything and not. And like I said, it's an AI system that's coming in. It's highly accurate. It's very effective. And then with that too, the other thing I wanted to focus on is also this tasks that it's doing. As it's listening to these phone calls, it'll even schedule or book tasks. So for example, let's say someone's talking about scheduling an appointment, or here William Harris, for example, mentioned something about insurance and billing or whatnot. And so we can click on this and it will really kind of drill into everything here. And so offices love it because it gives a great high level overview of all the phone calls coming in that you obviously can't listen to, but you can at least get a good overview of what's going on. Okay. The last thing I wanted to cover with this, and then I'll let you guys be on your merry way, was also just our missed call texting. Actually, let me come over here. While this is a little more difficult to demonstrate on a webinar, essentially what it is if you happen to miss a phone call, the average office is actually missing about 30% of their phone calls. And I know probably a lot of you are like, that's not me. I'm here to tell you that you're probably missing more than you think, because what you don't know, you don't know. And usually if you're missing the call, you don't know it. And so with Weave, what we found is if we're able to actually automatically text that patient back when you miss that phone call, it will actually recover that patient within the system. And so, for example, if I call into an office and it hits voicemail, or it's after hours, or you guys are just busy with on the phones, when I hang up, it will automatically text me, hey, thanks for calling the practice. We're sorry we missed your call. How can we help you? And then it'll generate that conversation, which I love because I never leave voicemails. Most of my generation doesn't, but I'll respond to a text message. The great thing with this too is this is also coming into AI forms and features. If you're a dentist, and I know we got quite a few of you in various industries here, but if you're a dentist and you're using some of the major softwares, we even have AI features that go with that, and we'll only continue to expand that here with Weave. So that's just my quick little demonstration here as far as with Weave. It's a great system that, like I said, it really just makes things personable for you, your practice, and with your patients. So I don't know if there were any questions that came in, but if there are, you feel free to put them in the chat. Carly, I'll turn it back on over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate everybody taking the time. We know that whether you're the practice owner or the office manager, or whatever your role is in the practice, we know you are super busy. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much, especially to Dr. Mai. We always love getting to hear from you, and we appreciate you taking the time today.
Appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to chat again sometime soon. Thanks, everybody.